Katsucon 2016, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Katsucon was held from February 12th to the 14th, 2016 at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center in National Harbor, Maryland. My experience will largely come from being a panelist. I was part of a group that presented several panels at the convention. This year had several challenges coming into it, including a late release schedule, and MagFest being the week after Katsucon. So let's see how they did. For the good, I like the increased security this year. I saw a lot of hotel security, but I also saw a lot of regional police departments have security on site this year, in uniform, very, very clearly marked. I'm not sure how good it did with the amount of damage photos floating around the internet, but it was good to know they were at least in the area. Panelist badge pickup was smooth. I went there on Thursday. I got there about 10 minutes before it closed, and they were still processing people. Everything went well. Got my badge, in and out. Now, the fire evacuation, I was part of the Otakon 2010 fire drill, and there was a legitimate fire, according to Katsucon, and in my opinion, it could have been much worse. I ended up evacuating out through the Maryland ballrooms, and it was in the parking garage, which, yes, it was cold, yes, it was a lot of people getting out, there was a lot of people upset, but overall, it went about as well as it could. They got people back into the ballrooms to stay warm, and as a staff, you'll see them make changes, hopefully. Otakon did, but overall, I think it went about as well as it could. For the bad, what was completely terrible was the pre-convention panelist communication and the timetable the convention used. To explain the situation, you had to submit your panel several months before Katsucon, and they gave 3 weeks' notice if your panel was accepted or not. For a convention of Katsucon's size and reputation, that was completely garbage and unacceptable. You expect quality work to be done 3 weeks before the convention? A lot of panel groups don't blind build their panels. They will submit an idea and see if it gets accepted. I was in the situation where, up to a few weeks before the convention, I was not sure I was going to be able to go because the group I was helping with panels was thinking about not going. They were thinking about pulling out, and it would have left me in a bad position because I would have not been able to make it to Katsucon. So, and what's really bad is, yes, the convention admitted there was several issues related to staffing, and I completely understand it. From what's been said, maybe the panels department, it was not entirely their fault. External circumstances for other departments might have affected that, but you can't give 3 weeks notice if you want quality work to be done. It needs to be vastly improved. There needs to be an internal review. It was just bad. For the ugly, what should have been better? The dealer's room line control on Saturday was a hot mess. Yes, the room was near capacity. I was in one of the lines that ended up getting cut and told to come back. They couldn't give you an exact time to come back. I heard anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. So, even with the fire alert, the emergency situation, I didn't get into the dealer's room on Saturday until about 4 to 4:30 p.m., which is completely unacceptable for what I'm paying for a badge. I am aware that, yes, it was crowded. I was walking through there when I finally got in, and it didn't seem overly crowded then. So I'm not sure what was going on in the dealer's room, but it's something they really need to look at for the future. And just the crowding in general on Saturday was by far the worst I've ever seen at the convention. You couldn't really stop and take a picture. There were certain areas that was completely jammed up downstairs at the atrium level. It made the con quite unpleasant, and I'm wondering, is it time to start looking at caps? You don't like to say that, but the crowding was bad enough that it might be time. Video game room bag policy is something that needs to be looked at Katsucon. On Saturday, I went in there with my small camera bag and walked out. It wasn't an issue, played a game, everything was good. Sunday, you get out of your room early because the elevators about 10 o'clock completely jam up. Nothing to do, went down to the game room again, wanted to do some pinball, got told you can't bring that in here. I'm like, I was in here yesterday with it completely fine, and he's like, people didn't know their jobs. So, obviously, there is an issue with staffing and the bag policy in the video game room that needs to be reviewed. I didn't get to play my pinball. Sunday's feedback panel was a bit of a mess. Here's where I'm going to start. Got there, there's a small group of people, the door is locked, and there's no Katsucon staff members. I walk over to a staff member after a few minutes across the hallway. He's able to radio up and get it unlocked, and finally, a high-level Katsucon staff member by the name of Baron, who's involved with live programming, comes down. He's an okay guy who I don't blame for most of this, but the whole setup for feedback was completely unprofessional. And here's where I'm going to start. Nobody to take notes. A lady who was a VIP person was taking notes, not even a staffer, and it was just kind of a wing-it style panel. It was only a half hour, and showing up 15 minutes late, which I understand there's emergencies at cons and stuff, but I didn't even get to say what I was going to say, and I stayed a half hour later after the panel ended. Which, okay, but Katsucon needs to vastly improve this and have a real feedback panel with real staff members who take notes. You just can't wing it like this. It was not good. The Sunday parking garage jam was a real problem. Yes, a lot of people were leaving, but it shouldn't take 2 hours to get out of the parking garage from the 4th floor. Now, there seemed to be some sort of issue going on. No details there as to what it was, and hotel staff didn't seem to have an idea how to fix it. Literally, 2 hours. We wanted to leave and go home. I went and took more pictures. My buddy went and took more pictures. And then we finally got to leave, which was kind of what we wanted to do at that point. Just not good. Overall, I found Katsucon 2016 underwhelming. It was a little bit boring at times. Friday wasn't bad. Friday you could really move around, get some nice pictures, go see panels, but Saturday was just a mess. And honestly, I think part of the problem was the guest list really was not super strong this year. And I really have to wonder if it is time for a hard cap. I think this convention was working better with less people. This year, you just couldn't move around on Saturday. You couldn't really breathe. And I don't know, you're going to have to watch ghosting. You're going to have to figure something out. Reduce the amount of people. You'll have a better event. And right now, my next year's return is kind of questionable. The group I'm part of might not be coming back here, so I'm not sure. You might not see me next year. Might be time for MagFest. With this mess with panels, it's just unacceptable for 3 weeks' notice, and I don't know what'll happen. I'm going to give the convention a C+ this year. This is the lowest grade I've given to Katsucon so far. I think Katsucon has a lot of decisions they need to make this year. They need to look at a lot of stuff, but maybe the big question coming out of this is, have I been underrating Anime USA? After seeing Katsucon this year, Anime USA might end up being a better convention in that area than I thought. Thanks for watching.